Education meeting for December 11th, 2023. I'm going to ask that we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Devonshire Knights. So, whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, and that leads to our special guest who just led us in the pledge and a board recognition presentation on art from Devonshire. So I don't know who's leading that.
How do we get our slideshow up? Sorry, thank you. Thank you.
It's little.
Is it on?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ryan from Devonshire School. I'm here today with my classmates Nyla, Kristen, Emma, Allie, Sophia, JB, and Wesley Bow, and our art teacher, Miss Novoselsky. We're going to teach you how to use oil pastels. Next, my friend Kristen will teach you about oil pastels.
Oil pastels are a popular choice for drawing because they are easy to use and create bright colors. They can be blended in different ways to create the look you want. We're going to teach you some of these different blending techniques. We'll be demonstrating on the board up here, so please watch before you color.
I didn't pass anything.
I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire.
School.
Devonshire.
School.
My friend Sophia will be teaching you about primary and secondary colors.
Blending and making secondary colors from primary colors. Primary colors are the basic colors used to make all other colors. They are red, yellow, and blue. When blended together, they will make the secondary colors: orange, red, and yellow, violet, blue and red, and green, blue, and yellow. How to do it. Press hard to color in the primary A box with the primary color of your choice. Color in the primary B box with another primary color. Color right up to the edge or a little over. Leave the secondary color box blank for now. Okay, when I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire.
School.
Devonshire.
School.
Second step is to blend the colors with your finger by dragging the primary colors into the secondary box. Continue to lightly layer and blend the primary colors until you have the secondary color. Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire.
School.
Devonshire.
School.
Now my friend JB will teach you how to do sgraffito.
Hi, I'm JB. Sgraffito is a technique where you create a design by scraping away a layer of oil pastels to reveal the color beneath it. Here's how to do it. Cover the box that says sgraffito with a light color. You're supposed to press hard. Try orange, purple, or red. They're like the colors that work best. Cover the entire lighter color with black. Press hard. I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire.
School.
Devonshire.
School.
The last step is by using a toothpick. You should have a toothpick in your little case. Use a toothpick to scrape away the black and to reveal the color beneath. Make sure you press lightly, or because if you press hard, then it will be it will just show the paper underneath it, and you don't want that. I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire. Devonshire. Next, my friend Nyla will be teaching you about scumbling.
Scumbling, a technique where you blend colors by layering them using a swirling motion. How to do it. Cover the desired area with a light color using a light circular motion. Don't make your loops too close together. When I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire.
School.
Devonshire.
School.
I'm sorry. Cover the lighter color with the next color using the same motion. Continue until you have a desired color. Remember not to overdo it. When I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire.
School.
Devonshire. Now my friend Emma will be teaching me about Tintin.
Tinting is a technique where you blend white oil pastel with a base color to make a lighter color. How to do it. Press hard to color with the white first from the left side to the middle of the box. Then press hard to color the base color any color on the other side of the box. Then blend it all together with your finger. Now I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire? School. Now my friend Allie will teach you how to do shading. Shading. Shading is a technique where you blend black with a base color to make a darker color. How to do it. Lightly put down the black from the left side to the box to the middle side of the box. Press hard to color the base any color on the other side of the box. Blend them together with your finger. Continue to layer until you achieve the shade you want. I say Devonshire, you say school. Devonshire. School. Devonshire. School. Thank you for letting us show you some of our art skills. We hope you have fun learning something new.
you so much.
Thank you. So before you go, can we ask a few questions?
Sure, that would be great.
So,
All right,
so
you
my
guys
first
ready?
question is, when you do this sort of thing in school, are you always so good at cleaning up after yourselves? Because this was excellent.
They are.
Thank you. This was a great demonstration. Others?
Yeah, I loved this. This was so much fun. I was very bad at art in school. It was probably my worst subject. What advice would you have for someone who maybe doesn't feel so confident in art class?
Yep, come up to the microphone.
Feel more confident.
Just do your best.
All right.
Don't give up.
There you go. There you go. I like it. I know. I enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna start. When I say school, you say board. I think we can start doing that here. But so we did oil pastels today. What else have you guys used in the classroom? What other things? Yep, just come up to the podium.
Paint,
Crayons and colored pencils.
Colored pencils. Sure. You want to say something? Yeah, come on up.
markers,
Markers. What's the messiest thing that you've used?
Probably either the paint or the clay.
Yeah.
oil pastels.
There we go. Oil pastels.
I'll come up because these guys were too old, but the third graders, we just got through using shaving cream with tempera paint to make swirl paper. And then at the end of the year, they use wall plaster to make 3D art out of that.
Sure.
So third graders are messy year, but none of these got to do it because I started after. So
Awesome. All right. Anybody else?
We good? All right. Thank you very much. Do we want to have them come up here and get a picture? Come on, come on. Get a good picture. One, two, three, smile. One more right here. Everybody go right here. Ready? Ready? One, two. Okay. We're just waiting a moment for families to clear out here. How are you timing? Okay. Yeah, one. Okay, that brings us to 4.0, comments and suggestions from the public. I have Deb Banky. Will you step up? I'll read the spiel while you're getting up there. Okay, this is the point of the meeting where we welcome public comments. In Illinois, the law says that anyone has the right to speak to public officials like a board of education, but they have to follow the rules that the board has set and made public. To allow the board the time needed to address all agenda items this evening, each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. A board member will serve as timekeeper and will give the speaker notice when there are 30 seconds remaining to allow the speaker time to complete or summarize their thoughts. Please understand the board will not ask or answer questions during public comment. If you have questions or wish to have a response to any item, please submit your comments in writing and the superintendent will follow up with a response. Thank you.
On tonight's agenda is the preschool expansion program and the calendar for next year. I'm really not saying anything new, but hopefully the board will finally listen and learn from my repetitiveness. I'm repeating what I said at the October 9th meeting, And I said, at the August 14th meeting, I spoke in reference to the disappointment of participation during the summer programs and recommended the whole district move to a balanced calendar. Many districts across the country have done so to lessen the gap due to learning loss from the COVID lockdown. If our community wants change in our schools, we need to affect change. Moving our district to the balanced calendar is a worthy change and does not need to be permanent. The board can elect to have the calendar changed and then stipulate to revisit its effectiveness after 3 years. With a balanced calendar comes intersessions, and 3 courses should be offered those weeks, 1 for math, 1 for reading, and 1 for enrichment at all schools. I urge the board to seriously consider this option for the betterment of our students. At a minimum, place Ridge back on the balanced calendar. I surveyed parents and guardians at Ridge across all grade levels, some whom I have never spoken with before, and everyone I spoke with was in favor of moving back to the balanced calendar. This is my 14th year in the district and as a Ridge parent. The lack of fall break this year has created an uptick in unruly behavior and burnout with many at Ridge. I volunteered all last week for our holiday shop, and it was quite noticeable. This is proof that having a balanced calendar keeps students and educators revitalized and refreshed. Continuing on the topic of Ridge, we will gladly welcome preschool back in our building, as long as the K through 5 grades remain. We had preschool in our building before, and we can do it again. I am actually curious to know who owns the land at the west side of the building where the pre-K playground used to be. If the district owns it, there is more than enough room to build onto Ridge and add 6 additional classrooms. Please reinstate the balanced calendar at Ridge and seriously consider placing the whole district on it. Think outside the box you're currently in. The district needs change. Give this one a try. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that moves us on to superintendent's reports, starting with 5.01 FOIA requests.
Since the last report to the Board of Education, there have been 9 requests that are being processed by the district.
Mike's down. 5.02 early childhood expansion.
Yes, so I'm just going to cover a little bit. I know we've been keeping the board and the staff apprised of where we're headed. We were very fortunate to receive an expansion in our Preschool for All grant. So we received an estimated $140,000 extra dollars to be spent this year, which is an exciting opportunity. This was really based on the governor's initiative around early childhood learning across the state. And what they did is they did a study to determine where there are preschool deserts, is what they're called. So what they particularly found is that our area, specifically in Elk Grove, is considered a preschool desert. And again, for students who are potentially at risk. So with that additional funding, we are able to serve an additional up to 30 students. So that would be 15 students in an AM session, 15 students in a PM session. We do have some available classrooms at Ridge that were originally designed for early childhood. And so we're very grateful that we have that space and are able to welcome in those students and to continue all of our other programming at Ridge while that happens. So we are in the process of ensuring alignment with our Early Learning Center. It really is an extension of the Early Learning Center, so it's almost like a satellite campus. Diagnostic testing and screening will still continue to take place at the Early Learning Center, but these students would then have their experience and introduction to District 59 at Ridge, which is really exciting, and to be able to open up these opportunities in another geographic location of our district where we have seen some need. We will first open it up for any students who are in the Preschool for All at Ridge to see, or sorry, not at Ridge, those that are at the current ELC. If they would like to transfer over, we're going to look at opportunities for that to happen. Those, especially who may have long commutes in the morning and in the afternoon. So we'll be looking at doing that. And then it is renewable for next year as well. So it will be part of our overall Preschool for All grant. Dr. Elizabeth Degree has done an amazing job of leading that work and writing the grant and working collaboratively with our principal, Michelle Ramsey, at our ELC and staff there to really make this a positive start. I want to also thank our staff and administrator from Ridge, who have been very open and accommodating to make sure that we can have this opportunity starting hopefully as early as mid to late January. It involves hiring, obviously, a teacher, teaching assistant, as well as screening for students that to meet the criteria of the grant and get that program up and running. So excited to see that start at the Ridge Family Center for Learning.
Mm-hmm.
So is that it's 30 additional students? Or-
Correct.
And so
Up to.
Up to.
Yeah.
So then is that 2 classrooms, 3 classrooms?
One classroom, so it'll be an AM session of 15 and a PM session of 15.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And this classroom already has a washroom in it. It's already
Yes,
built. for-
correct. It has the right size toilet. It
Mhm.
has everything built in that we would need for that one classroom.
And in terms of, well, let me start by saying I love preschool, so don't misunderstand anything I'm about to say or questions I'm about to ask. How does the district measure student growth and make sure that the kids coming out of the ELC are kindergarten ready?
Absolutely. Well, I think what is most important, and I will definitely let Dr. Ossel jump in if she would like to as well, but really we are meeting them where they are at as individuals. As you know, kids start at all different places. So I think that there's not necessarily one particular thing in terms of kindergarten that we would say all incoming kindergartners need to start here. So I just want to, clarify on that point. But what I will say is that we actually have a very rigorous program at the ELC that has built in a lot of measures and accountability for how we ensure that we're teaching the skills, the standards, the things that are developmentally appropriate. So I think it's more about their developmental growth is what we're really measuring in terms of their time at the ELC. All of our students come in very different places with very different needs, and really being able to set them up for the greatest amount of success as they do matriculate into kindergarten. Dr. Ossel, would you add anything else? Okay.
Do we know, and you don't have to answer this now, but maybe you could provide it, but the percentage of kids that go through the ELC that do go to a District 59 kindergarten? Like how many, I'm curious if we know
The
how many
vast
actually-
majority
Yeah.
end up, as opposed to,
like transferring out to like a private school in kindergarten.
oh, I would probably have to, I don't want to,
Yeah.
but I would say the vast majority.
Sure, right. No, and I think it's
matriculate
good
into
because
59.
it's obviously I'm a big supporter of preschool education, but also building on the work we did this year with, I think it was the Parent Academy at the ELC that we did, right? And starting
last
to lay
couple
the
years.
groundwork and establishing those relationships with those parents before they go into kindergarten to let them know this is their district and being a part of it.
And we've made, several substantial improvements over the last 2.5 years. So we've seen an increase already in the number of students attending at the ELC. We were able to address transportation needs. We were able to reduce and supplement costs for the tuition-based program. We've now been able to expand we were able to expand from 4 days a week to 5 days a week to offer more opportunities for our students, and now this opportunity to expand to a satellite. Exciting.
How does this compare to the number of students that we currently have in a ELC? What are we at right now?
So we're over 310.
364 as of the 8th of December.
Okay, so
And that's across all programs. So tuition-based, preschool for all, as well as our blended classrooms.
this really is a small drop, 8%.
Yeah, can I add on to that? So roughly how big is a kindergarten class for the district? I wanna-
18 to 20 kids, I would say.
Yeah,
No,
it
no,
very.
I mean in total
Oh.
for like
This year, as of the 8th, we had 617 kids in kindergarten.
617. So this
And remember, preschool is 3 and 4 year olds.
Yeah.
right.
So divide that in
So
half.
we have 2
Okay,
cohorts.
I see. So it's a quarter of the district's incoming kindergarten class effectively served by this program, and it's. Did you have more? Otherwise, I one more question. Okay. So then it's also targeted to specifically at-risk students. That's what the
Per the grant.
the desert is, right? That it's specifically programs that are targeted. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not necessary. You may say, oh, there's a lot of opportunities for preschool in our area, but all of those are paid tuition-based programs or private things. So when they're looking at that criteria for the preschool desert, that's what really landed. And there's a percentage, we're close to our percentage, but we are under it, which is what awarded us the additional dollars.
Yeah, because you could have a number of families that want to take part of this, but live by Devon and aren't going to drive all the way up to Gulf, or can't, So-
Well, and we also know that some of the longest transportation routes last year were preschool kids from the south side traveling to the ELC.
Mhm.
Specifically, a kid who's been identified as, having needs then has to spend an hour on the bus each way, which is
For a 2.5-hour program.
And then the $140,000-ish, that's money that's coming from a state program, right? So
Correct.
it's already been paid by the taxpayers. It's not our budget. It's coming back to the community to support our students. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
So what percent do we turn, like, is the who needs it, is that determined by us based on our capacity, or like how many kids, I guess my ultimate question is how many kids get turned away from the program?
So it depends on which program you're speaking to. So we have our tuition based, we have our preschool for all, which has very specific criteria based on the grant. So it outlines exactly what defines at risk and which we do screenings to determine eligibility for that. So, and then we have our blended program for students who are identified for early intervention and special needs. So I would say that in talking with our staff at the ELC, I think we have a number of people who would like to be in some of our programs, but half day is a barrier because they really need full day care, and then to do a midday transportation is really challenging. So I think that's our next target group if we really wanted to expand, is to start to venture into a full day opportunity. And then transportation as well, the distance. We tend to have a higher number of students from the north side that attend the ELC because it's geographically closer. So I would have to look at more detailed numbers around who we actually turn away, but each program has specific criteria.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would be all in favor of anybody who, now most people will have to pay, or a lot of people have to pay for it, but I would like to, at some point, anybody who wants to be going, I would love to be able to have them here versus going somewhere else.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a shared vision amongst our team. We are planning in January to have a presentation on early childhood learning in general, so we can really just get an idea of some of those more in-depth things of what our current programming is doing and where we hope to be in the future. And I highly suggest, if you have not had a chance to visit the ELC, it is one of the best tours you'll ever do. It is remarkable what our staff do there, and it's a remarkable building, but it's much more than just the building. It's the people within it that do what they do that make such a huge difference for our students.
And be there when the kids are there.
Yeah.
'Cause they make the building come alive.
Yeah.
It's the cutest thing ever.
It is.
Since we're talking about the possibility of balanced calendar later, and currently the preschoolers will be housed in Ridge, is it possible for K through 5 to be on balanced if that's what the board approves, and the preschoolers to be on a traditional calendar?
I'll say anything is possible, but I think we have to go into it understanding the pros and cons of both and what limitations that might place on either program and either calendar.
I'm sure you'll answer this in January. What are the long-term goals? So all day is a long-term goal. Are there long-term goals in terms of number and location?
So I think we definitely want to get out of that preschool desert criteria, which has, there is a designation and numbers associated with that. So I think that would be one of our early targets by using these dollars. I think the full day for a long-term goal, absolutely. One of the things that we've really targeted this year that we just started conversations around is that ELC to kindergarten transition, and really looking at how do we ensure that we're setting up for success and have a clear understanding. What that's really led into is what are our expectations in kindergarten, and is kindergarten really developmentally appropriate the way we necessarily approach it as part of the K-5 kind of continuum. So I think some really good conversations are happening that are going to require some more time and attention and study around how we are looking at our students. Full day kindergarten is now going to be state mandated in the next few years. We are far ahead of that game, which is great, but kindergarten is not a mandated grade in the state of Illinois. So you could still have students coming in entering 59 for the first time in first grade. but I think, growing and really early identification and expanding that outreach, and then even looking at birth to 3 opportunities, such as the parent university piece, the family university, bringing families in at an earlier age. As soon as we're able to, early intervention is probably the most effective means we have to closing gaps before they get to kindergarten.
Something I just want to float is to the board and to all of you is that the ELC is a beautiful, fantastic building. And if we're looking into something on the south side, this is also a beautiful, fantastic building. So a lot of districts are going toward making their admin centers a more multimodal space in the area. I think that adding preschool also in this building might gain back some trust from the taxpayers who weren't necessarily all in favor of the construction of this building. I think it would be something that's worth looking into.
We also own all the land behind the building too, right, where those soccer fields are?
Was there some, I don't know if there's,
Okay, moving on. 5.03 Dual Language Task Force update.
Yes. And I will say, in a previous district I worked in, my office was in the early childhood building, and I absolutely loved it. So
I think 54 is that way too. Where they have
it's just great. And then 21 just built their new ad center, and they actually added a healthcare portion and some other community services within it. So I think lots of opportunities to explore. So the Dual Language Task Force, again, I want to just bring this to the forefront because we are planning on using our committee of the whole meeting on January 22nd to dedicate a full board meeting to the discussion of our dual language program here in District 59. So it is something that has been in practice for many, many years. And as we continue to look at our data and continue to look at the outcomes of our students, we want to make sure that we are having the most effective program. So we have met and asked for a volunteer group of language staff who have been participating, as well as administrators. On this task force, we've met a number of times to really define what is our vision, what are our values around dual language, and then the opportunity to work collaboratively with the board and the community to re-envision the program and to garner supports in terms of what changes need to be made in order to bring that vision to reality. It is a program that impacts a significant number of students in District 59. We are one of the top 10 districts in the state of Illinois at the elementary level, serving with the largest percentage of English learners in our district in that top 10, which is significant. So it is something that we invest a lot in from a personnel resource, but it's also something that's very spread out and maybe it's not necessarily delivering the results that we had wanted, as well as some of the other challenges that we've discovered during our audit of our dual language Spanish program, as well as our equity audit. So looking at those things, we want to bring that study back and kind of give a history to the board and the community about where dual language started, where we are today, what are the current challenges that we are facing, and then what are some ideas that the task force really has to address. They want to find a program that has sustainability and consistency. They're not turning over staff. They are in changing grade levels and changing schools. Being able to have partners within their program, their grade level. So moving away from the singleton practice, as well as having dedicated resources that really support dual language. So we've made a lot of steps forward in this area. We eliminated multi-grade practices after my first year here. So, and then we've also this year implemented a new literacy resource that is an authentic Spanish resource. So we're very proud of those steps forward. But in order to achieve the vision of what the task force is talking about, we are really looking for some substantial change to the program. And we obviously need the support of the board and the community in order to do that. So we look forward to an opportunity on January 22nd to bring more information, address questions, learn together, and then to explore and really get some parameters and feedback from the board on what we might be willing to support to help this program become the best it can be.
Mm-hmm.
On the 22nd, are we going to see again numbers for kids in dual language, for example, like IAR scores, access test scoring? Is iReady available in Spanish and Polish? Like, can they do their homework in Spanish and Polish?
From iReady, like the
the
online learning tool or the diagnostic, like our benchmark data? Both.
Yeah.
So the path is not, I know iReady in Spanish or Polish, they are working on that component. There are some assessments available in Spanish in iReady currently.
Okay. So can we, on the 22nd, I know you guys have done audits, can we look at, my point of view is that if something is working, we should keep it, and if something is not working, we should adjust it. It's like a common sense approach, right? So just looking at like what portions of this program are working, where are they working location-wise, and what's not working. So I would love to see part of that be scoring throughout and as we go up grade levels.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, oh, go ahead. Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Yeah, you know, like when I joined the board, I remember when I was interviewing and to get appointed here, and I had said when goals were, and I said this district to have the flagship dual language program. I wanted this district to have the dual language program that everyone says, did you hear what District 59 is doing? And like, how can we do that, right? So for the task force that's at home listening, every option should be on the table, right? Like what Sarah's saying is that every possible improvement, whatever that needs to be done, should be explored and analyzed, and change is hard, obviously, but we want the absolute best program there. And we have, like you said, eliminating those multi-grade classrooms, putting in the new literacy materials there that are making those improvements, but it's what else is there? There is more that can be done, and what is it, you know, and we're all ears up here as far as what those needs are. So I'm looking forward to that discussion.
Excellent.
All right, that brings us to 5.04, Brentwood Facilities Student Transition Planning.
All right, so we wanted to be able to provide some additional details and plans before we look at our action item a little bit later in the meeting. So as you know, we have been discussing Brentwood and its potential expansion and renovation for quite some time now. So we have our team from Wold here again with us. We're going to quickly go through what the updated plan looks like, what has been presented and will continue to be presented to the Park District, Mount Prospect Park District, as that relates to this potential plan, as well as what the board had asked at our previous meeting, what would be a transition plan in order to achieve the goal of making it a 3-section school. So we're gonna walk through that quickly. This is really last opportunities for board to ask any questions. So we don't wanna belabor too many points that we've discussed previously, but we'll go through this quickly and then open it for questions.
Thank you for having us here tonight. Like Dr. Bresnahan say, we have some meetings with the Park District, so I'll go through that. We are going to be looking at option E, and I'll also recap the timeline when we're at the end of the presentation. So on November 15th, this is the plan that was presented to the Mount Prospect Park District. We went through the general layout. They did like the fact that we were maintaining the playground. They liked the fact that the gymnasium could be potentially used by the Park District, so they saw the size and the use of that as an important aspect. We talked about the existing IGA and how that could be modified to allow for how this hardscape would shift over. So I think, you know, at the end of the meeting, they did direct the administration to engage with the district and kind of take this to the next level and get into the details of what does the property purchase, you know, what's the size of the property, what's the size of the IGA. Okay. So this is the diagram here that starts to outline the total acreage of the site there, which is 1.78 acres. And this diagram will be presented to the Park District on Wednesday night. Their board has a copy of this currently. So in purple there, that's the outline. You can see how it overlays onto the gym. In order to build the gym, we do need 55 feet of the Park District's property. That includes approximately 5 feet of kind of sidewalk clearance to the right of the gymnasium. Kind of like right there. So with that, also the hardscape, which is currently part of the IGA. It's not, I should know how to use this, but I don't, to turn this off, but. Okay. So the 50 feet is the IGA, that's the intergovernmental agreement. That's land that you wouldn't need to purchase, but you would want to have rights to use that for your play area, okay? Which is similar to what you have now. And we have that, the full north to south stripe of land there. We're also showing the distance from the home plate to the edge of the gymnasium. It's over 200 feet, which is, you know, a good length there for Little League baseball. So preservation of green space was also important to them. The park itself, when we are constructing, we do need to work through how that would impact the green space. So during construction, you know, whatever parts of the existing park would be, you know, for access, construction access, whatever was touched would have to be restored, right? So that's kind of the next level of this, is how much, you know, how much of the existing park needs to be touched. Okay. Any questions on that? So we'll, again, the park district's going to discuss that on Wednesday, and we'll know more really after that.
Let me ask a question on the property purchase real quick. We still need to get zoning variance approval, right? So is there a risk that we purchase this property, now we have this portion of the parcel, and then the village rejects the variance and we can't build on it?
We have had a preliminary meeting with Des Plaines zoning department to express, you know, generally what might happen, let's say. Once the property is purchased, it would be consolidated with your property. You do need, because it's an educational use of the property, that also has to be a special use permit. So between the special use request and then the consolidation of the other property, those would be the requests. I mean, yeah, there's always a risk. Sure. I mean, with any process, I think that given the logic of this, given that you're working in collaboration with the park district, you know, I think the zoning commission would have to
And it's
understand.
good that they're aware and their discussions have taken place.
So when we're doing the purchase, if doing the purchase, would it make sense to do a contingency on making sure we do get the variance? The purchase, but basically purchase of contingency that we'll get the variance and we can move forward with the project.
Oh, yeah, I mean, depending on how you want to write that, you could have it contingent on, I don't know if the timing would align exactly.
Because it wouldn't make sense to spend the money and then we do nothing.
Yeah, these are really sort of parallel activities, because in order to get the zoning approved, you need to show that you own the property, right? Because it's part of the consolidated plat of survey. I mean, there is a point there where, you know, you could express that to the zoning that, you know, it's in process, something to that effect. But I think to get the final approval, you'd have to own the property, is how I would understand it.
Can we look into it?
Yeah, we'll run it past
Yeah.
legal, but I think the best part is that, number one, we began this process with the Des Plaines zoning board, who said you need a plan to move these mobiles. So there's some mutually beneficial pieces on that, and they are expecting it. I think the initial conversations have appeared promising as well.
Positive,
But yeah, we can absolutely look at like what that timeline and coordination would look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, again, these are items that would need to occur in tandem, but we want to make sure we don't proceed without, you know, the correct timeline. Okay. This is just the details of the property. The current appraisal is at $795,000, and then it's going to be considered here on December 13th.
All right, so this next piece is really related to how are we going to get to that 25-26 school year and live until then in a 3-section building. So the idea that we met and we looked at is what can we accommodate in the interim as we're building this. So basically the team, including Dr. Barrett, who's in the back, and as well as Miss Law from Frost, were at this meeting, and as well as our principal from Devonshire, who was here earlier this evening. So got our team together to really discuss what is feasible. So we felt that we would look at continuing the shifting of the dual language program out of Brentwood. I know that we've discussed that previously, and that was a question that we had polled the teachers on. Obviously, it's difficult to lose an entire program, but when we look at the consolidation, speaking back to our dual language task force conversation, these are kind of, the trade-offs that we would have to make. So those students who are currently in first grade dual language at Frost, but reside within the Brentwood boundary, they have been attending Frost already. So what we would do is have them continue at Frost. So no movement, no impact, at least on kids and where they're going to school for that. But what that would do is eliminate the second grade classroom for dual language at Brentwood, because now those students would move up to third grade for next year. So we would actually do that for the next 2 years. Now, we would then move, the mobiles would be gone during construction. We'd have to move art and music back into classrooms, shifting some other things around. So interventions may be back in hallways, there may be some tighter spaces, things like that. Art and or music, one of them, we may have to look at, what goes into smaller spaces or on a cart, or do they get dedicated spaces? But again, I think we felt it would be feasible. It would probably be one of the tightest years that we'd have, but definitely feasible. We'd also like to recommend, and this would be through separate board action, a boundary change, and which we discussed as well. So we're really looking at it from a programmatic move as well as a boundary shift. There is one portion of the boundary in particular that is kind of an outlier. It's a little bit on isolated area on its own that is adjacent to Devonshire. And we would like to make that shift so that any newly enrolled student moving into District 59 from that area would then be homeschooled Devonshire. Devonshire has the room and capacity for those students. And if we go to and then what we would want to also look at is, would we want to create opportunities for any other family that maybe would like to choose? I was here for kindergarten, but all of the rest of my community members are going to Devonshire. I'd like to go to Devonshire too. So if we flip to the next slide, you'll see, so that's for 24-25, 25-26, we continue that dual language pattern. So now we have an additional classroom over at Brentwood, and construction is complete. So we have both the newly renovated building as well as the loss of now the third grade dual classroom, leaving only grades 4 and 5 in dual language at Brentwood. Now, part of for the board's understanding as well, what we've seen as we've made these different transitions, when we do a 6-year rollout and phase in of a transition for students, there's also the other end of it. At the start, it feels good, but eventually you're going to be the only class in that building. And there's some negative aspects to that we've discussed with our leadership team at the building. So just want to keep both ends of that perspective in mind. And then really understanding the long-term implications is that now we've basically shifted the problem from Brentwood over to Frost, which also has 2 portable classrooms, which we have been given some leniency from Mount Prospect. Correct? Thank you for nodding. Get my villages right. So we've already gotten some leniency from Mount Prospect to continue them for at least another year and then look at them on a year-to-year basis. But we want to absolutely look at what is that long-term plan for dual language, because housing both a growing dual language program as well as our monolingual program at Frost will put it into the same position that Brentwood was at. So we want to look at a holistic approach for our dual language program, and then understand that, mobiles are never intended to be our permanent fixture at any of our schools. So that would be the transition plan for our students.
The timeline, we are asking for authority to proceed with design. This is the necessary really date to meet the deadline to start construction next September. So the Park District property purchase reviews will happen through December. Design absolutely must start in January if you want to meet that out for bid date in July, and then approvals bids in August. And then you'll start construction in September. So, and it's a 12-month construction process. So this is very tight, but it's completely accomplishable. We feel confident about that. In spring of 2024, we do need to pre-purchase mechanical equipment. That's important. So we will be coming back to the board for approval to purchase that. And then construction 2024, 25, and completion August of 2025. Okay.
The construction continues in the winter months, or does that go on pause once the snow hits and all that?
No, it continues. We have, there'll be excavation, walls will go up. There may have to have portable, temporary heating.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And when we do this, for instance, the parking spots along the one edge, that's the sort of thing where once everything's approved, we can do it while we're still waiting for the rest of the construction.
Yeah, I think that the plan should be a comprehensive plan that's put to the zoning. Once it's all been approved, then you can proceed with the construction. Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
I was kind of getting at the benefit of having those extra parking spaces along the one street.
Oh, yeah, along.
Early, especially with construction,
Oh.
maybe taking up some space along.
Yeah, I think we need to get approval from
Yeah,
the
once you have the
village.
approval.
To construct those, it's just a question, do you want construction going on during the school year? But to get those additional spaces, I think we could probably look into that, yeah. So they're done during the school year. Right, okay. Okay.
Turn your microphone on.
There's a potential that portion could be done if it's early within the summer. Right?
Maybe it depends. Basically, I think it's quick to do, but we need the approval, right?
For those additional, the parking
Yeah,
along Brad.
for
just
the
understand
extra
the
parking,
street.
yeah.
I think once approval takes place, as we get into the design process and working with the district's construction manager to just understanding where those opportunities are to set up some phasing.
Yeah.
So if that's a higher priority, working with them, making sure that that's something that can be accomplished and not impact, we've got a small addition that's happening kind of on that corner of the building too, making
That's
sure they
true,
can
yeah.
still get all their fencing and access to that addition. But certainly that's a conversation that can take place.
But then we can take some of our cars off the side streets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, but something we can do over the summer or into fall. Okay.
So voting aye tonight allows us to move forward with Bolt, correct? Yes.
To dig into the design in depth.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the transition plan can still be discussed after tonight.
Yes, so any potential boundary changes would be separate board action. I think what was important that I wanted to make sure we brought back is that it's feasible to continue through next year without shifting any additional students. But just recognizing the impact that will have for next school year.
Yeah, because that was one of the, because that was one of the concerns I had from the like when we first started discussing this months ago. Are we going to have to get mobile units to keep kids in the classrooms while there's construction going on? And there's nothing like that happening. And because right now you have Brentwood and Frost is a mile and a half away. It's very close, very close. And so we moved the kindergarten and the first grade dual language kids. They were relocated from Brentwood to Frost last school year.
Yeah, I shouldn't say they never attended. So
Right.
we started with that first kindergarten class,
Yeah.
and now they are in first grade. So they've never attended Brentwood. They started at Frost and separate. Now Devonshire, we moved the entire program in one year. And so all of those students moved over to Frost. And I know we talked a little bit about it at the last meeting, but it was highly successful for such a significant move and for the Frost team to really embrace and support and welcome in and build that community, I think was pretty remarkable.
So Frost is kind of like a dual language center now?
For those three, for that little cluster, yes.
Okay.
Which is then why we need to look at now the space issues, because now it's really pulled in both of those groups. But yes, it is now pulling from both of those areas as well as its own.
No, you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Is there more? Is there more slides? Oh, yeah. No, you know, it's the more, you know, when this topic, I mean, when did you guys were engaged? When it was like April? Yeah. It's like when this whole process started. We've been having these meetings, and when we started, there's always that hesitation of how much is this going to cost and what is it going to look like and how much disruption is going to happen, et cetera. And the more I think about it and the more I look at the plans, and I know I'm always concerned, one, with how much it's going to cost, but my perspective on this is it's exciting that we are doing something good here. And I know sometimes these big decisions are very difficult to make, and when we're talking about boundary changes or moving kids from one school to another, but we have a network of awesome schools in our district. And if kids are going to go from one school to another one in our district, it is not a downgrade whatsoever. You know, and it shouldn't be looked at that like that. And I'm just excited here that we're pulling the Band-Aid off in a sense as a board here of making some very large, big major decisions here on how to improve the facilities and the educational experiences of our kids.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to echo that as saying it's a lot of resources into Brentwood, but it's also not the big giant, no disrespect to the architects, but the big giant plans that we saw that were sort of eliminated early on. It is a sort of reasonable progress, and it's a way of ensuring the success of that building, which then allows the other buildings to feel a little bit less pressure as well, right? It freeing up, getting one building highly functioning frees up pressure on the other buildings.
Yeah. No, and sorry, I'm going to go on a little more. But just I really like the process here, and I want to thank Dr. Bresnahan and team here, because when was it? April, we were on site at Brentwood having these discussions. You know, we did a little meeting with all the parents that were there. October, we had our board meeting there at Brentwood to discuss these issues. And we've, you know, had a big slate of projects ranging from $1 million to 20 million. I can't remember how much it was. And we discussed and we analyzed and we went through each one and we chiseled down the options to see which one is going to be the best one that's going to make the best impact here. So process-wise, I've been very happy.
I agree, and I am very excited for the community of Brentwood. I think it's going to be very cool. Yeah, and as we move forward, I always just want to make sure, in terms of transition, we're always keeping kids at the top of our mind, and that's all that's important to me.
And I want to say that's something I've appreciated as well from our group is everybody's contributed something from their own perspective to build this project forward, including things like the transition focus and the getting interventionist spaces, all that stuff. I think we all have kind of kicked into something, so I appreciate it. All right, thank you very much. All right, now we have action stuff. Okay, consent agenda, which means I actually have to open things.
Question, is the consent agenda, is it over inclusive here with 605 and should those be on there or should those be ordered on separate? No, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, those are annual. Sorry, those are all annual items
Annual
that don't
items
require specific.
that were previously discussed.
Ah, okay.
And so we're streamlining it. There were no major questions remaining. Things that are regular order stuff to put on that, so we don't have to read those over and over again.
Makes
That
sense.
being said, before we begin, is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? So that was your chance. Oh, okay. So in that case, can I get a motion for the consent agenda? I can make it. Motion, be it resolved that on the 11th day of December 2023, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented and amended. 6.01, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Second.
Was that you, Joe?
Yep.
That was TR, I believe. And then any discussion as a collection? All right. Then let's do roll call.
All right, Sager,
Aye.
Schumacher absent, Chesney, Zach,
Aye.
Spino absent, Johnson,
Aye.
Mencia, aye.
And the motion passes. All right, that moves us on to a whole slew of action items. So, okay, 7.01, approval of junior high social science curriculum adoption. This was discussed in detail at the last meeting. I don't know if we would need a brief synopsis again.
Sure. So at our last meeting, we reviewed our process, we reviewed the selection and the rationale for why the teachers have selected the resource they like to select. We are in a great position right now to continue our soft rollout of this resource throughout the remainder of the year. Our teams have been already working, developing their scope and sequence for the remainder of the year using the resources, as well as once approved, we will develop our deeper plan for our entire social science, we call our curriculum framework, be a fresh start as well. Really having an implementation plan like we have for our other curricular resources. The instructional shifts to the Illinois State Inquiry Standards using this brand resource.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, questions on this item? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
All right, be it resolved that on the 11th day of December 2023, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the purchase of the following literacy resources for grades kindergarten through 8th grade, effective for the 2023-2024 school year as set forth in this motion.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Schumacher, absent, Chesney,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Spino, absent, Johnson,
Aye.
Mencia, aye. Sager.
Aye. And the motion. Let's just do like that has been a big lift of a lot of curriculum work, and thank you very much. Ooh, 7.02, adoption of the 2023 tax levy. Does Ron want to say anything, or should we just move on? Okay. So let's get a motion on this, and then we can discuss it if needed.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that on the 11th day of December 2023, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the adoption of a total levy in the amount of $101,829,003 for 2023, which is 5% above the 2022 extended levy of $96,980,003. This amount is to be distributed in the district's funds as indicated in the certificate of tax levy. A signed copy of the certificate of levy is to be attached to and made part of the official minutes.
Second.
Second by Lucas. Any questions or discussion? We had our tax levy hearing last time and a long discussion. This is the money that pays for everything that we've approved. So, okay, then roll call.
Zach.
Aye.
Spino, absent. Johnson.
Aye.
Mencia, aye. Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher, absent. Chesney.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Moving on to 7.03, which goes along with it, to authorize reduction of certain fund levies. So this is basically if one of them gets reduced, it's a particular one we choose. Does anyone want to make that motion? You can skip all the whereas.
I'll make the motion.
Find the actual stuff.
Whereas I'm going to just highlight here. Whereas on December 11th, the Board of Education of School District 59, Cook County, Illinois, did approve a certificate of tax levy for the 2023 levy year with the County Clerk of Cook County as further set forth in these recitals. Now therefore be it resolved that by the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59, Cook County as follows, as set forth in sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this motion.
Second.
All right.
Any discussion or questions on that? All right. A roll call vote, please.
And Spino is absent. Johnson.
Aye.
Mencia, aye. Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher, absent. Chesney.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
And the motion passes. All right, moving. Yes.
I am a machine here.
All right, moving to 7.04. report and authorization to file annual financial report with ISB. So let's get a motion, and then we can have a very brief discussion of this, because it's a yearly thing that has to be done, sort of thing. So I'll make the motion. Whereas so and so, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59 accepts the annual financial report (AFR) as final and authorizes the filing of the AFR to the Illinois State Board of Education in accordance with 105 ILCS 5/3-7.
Second.
Okay. And any questions? We can just briefly explain what this is. This is our
We're required by law, and we don't want to get put on the financial watch list for not doing it. So
Thank you,
we're on-
Dr. Rosahin.
Which I learned you will get put on the financial watch list if you do not submit it.
Okay, so just to transfer the report to Illinois State Board of Education. Okay, roll call vote.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mencia, aye. Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher, absent. Chesney.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Spino, absent.
And the motion passes. All right, 7.05. Approval of the communications audit. So we discussed this last time as a way to improve communications or study our current communication structure, right? Yeah, get feedback, and we had some examples sent out of what it looks like from other districts.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Whereas the district is exploring ways to identify the strengths and areas for improvement of the district's communications, and it was determined that the National School Public Relations Association would provide the most comprehensive audit based on the proposal submitted and references reviewed. Therefore, be it resolved on the 11th day of December 2023, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education authorizes the contract to be awarded to the National School Public Relations Association for an estimated cost of $23,175, plus expenses to conduct in-person focus groups as described in the attached proposal.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion of that beyond what we did last time? Okay, roll call vote.
Mencia, aye. Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher, absent. Chesney.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Spino, absent. Johnson.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Moving on, 7.06, approval of District 59 Education Foundation donation.
I'll make the motion. Be it resolved that on the 11th day of December 2023, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the donation from the District 59 Education Foundation to the Empowerment Fund, Rupley, Frost, John Jay, Early Learning Center, and Juliet Lowe, totaling $12,054.69. Be it further resolved that the superintendent shall communicate to the District 59 Education Foundation in writing expressing the appreciation of the members of the Board of Education, and that this donation shall be listed in the official minutes of the meeting.
I'll second. All right, any discussion?
Can we highlight what those funds
Yeah.
are going for? It's
Right.
on the motion.
So what is the Empowerment Fund?
The Empowerment Fund at District 59 is a fund set aside to help empower our families. So we get requests from families regularly for assistance that is not covered otherwise through our township services or other services in our area. We have a small board of community members and staff members who vote to make sure that's an appropriate expense, and then we utilize those funds to support families and lift them up so that they are in better circumstances and can support their child in their learning.
And I just want to give a shout out to Ben Gray because he serves as our liaison to the foundation and spends a good amount of time really working with them and ensuring that they have what they need to guide the use of their resources. So he's just a great, person to give perspective, bring their needs and wants back to our team. And the rest of these are really teacher submitted grants. That's such a great opportunity. But Ben spends a good amount of time really ensuring that the alignment of the district's goals are with that of the foundation and to coordinate the use of these funds, which is just such a mutually beneficial process.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Did we do a roll call? We need a roll call on that.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher, absent. Chesney.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Spino, absent. Johnson.
Aye.
Mencia, aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you. right, that moves us on to 7.07, approval of Wold contract for Brentwood project. We saw a presentation on this today, and we've had several discussions. We've been discussing this since April, I believe, is the correct way of thinking of that. So can I get a motion and a second, and then we can have any final questions?
Any second?
Second.
Okay, any further questions or discussion?
And just to clarify, the drafts that we received are still in process. They're still being reviewed. They're still being negotiated, but we just have the base templates of the form contracts.
Yes, this will allow the actual design, and so the cost estimates that we have are dependent on those future steps.
Okay, I think your point was more on the legal side, right? That there could be edits. to
Right,
the
there's
draft
still
that we-
back and forth being finalized.
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry, on those two
On the
documents,
legal
yes.
document.
I apologize, yes.
I'll translate
Yeah.
lawyer.
Thank
to-
you.
Okay, so did we get a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Zach.
All right, roll call, please.
Schumacher absent. Sesname?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Spino absent. Johnson?
I'm a nay. I'm happy Wold is doing it, but I've been, I just want to make sure I'm going to keep voting nay through the project just because in isolation, I like the direction it's going, but I need to be able to see a bigger picture. So I'm nay.
Mancia, aye. Sager?
Aye. And the motion passes. And I just want to say, TR, I completely respect that opinion. I think the next step is going to hopefully put that whole picture together.
I do like where it's going. I like the transition plan, which is one of the things I was most concerned about. So it's starting to take shape, just not enough at this point.
All right. Excellent. Okay, moving on. 8.0 discussion items.
I was ready to do this one. Meeting adjournment. Yeah. Thank you all.
Good evening. The school calendar must be reviewed or approved each year by the Board of Education. It must follow ISB guidelines and requirements such as a minimum of 176 student attendance days, institute or professional learning days. There can be a maximum of 4, and you must have 5 emergency days built in. Of course, then we have to incorporate any approved state holidays or non-attendance days. We align the school calendar with bargaining agreements, as well as some of our local districts, especially District 214. We are putting out 4 surveys in the next few days. There will be a survey for families. There will be a survey for staff. There will be a survey for Ridge-specific families, and then Ridge-specific staff. This will gather some updated preferences regarding the calendar alignment with 214, breaks, holidays, and interest in balanced school calendars. There is a balanced school calendar question on all 4 surveys. And then typically the Board of Education reviews and then approves the school calendar in District 59 anytime between December and February. For many years, it would be presented in December and then voted on the next month. In years where there were calendar changes or just other priority items or waiting on a pandemic to end, it would get pushed off. But the board can certainly request for the calendar to be brought to them or acted on sooner. And I believe that's all I have for you. So our hope is to put out the survey. I believe we are waiting on some input from the DEA, who we work in conjunction with to get some input, to get it out maybe even by the end of this week, so that people have time next week and even into part of winter break, and then bringing something to the board for action in January, hopefully no later than February.
So
could we get a
the survey goes out and then it's live for a certain number of weeks, and then results will go to who?
The results will come back to district leadership. We will share them with the DEA to gather some more input from them. And then that is not the only piece that goes into it. As I said, we have to look at all, for instance, there is going to be an election day holiday next year that we have to take. some days that we typically observe this year as non-attendance day fell on a weekend. Next year they fall into the school year. So we'll adjust all of those pieces. 214 has already released their calendar. So we'll put all of that together and then show a draft to the board. We can do that at the next board meeting and then vote after at that meeting afterwards. We could then vote at the following board meeting. There's lots of things we can do to please the board.
I think that it would be good for us to see at the next board meeting the results of the survey and then come to action at the earliest in February. How does the rest of the board feel about that?
I think it makes sense, but I would also like, if possible, if we could get at least structure of survey before.
Yeah, actually, the survey in the weekly for all of you,
Perfect.
and then you will also get it as when it goes live for you, because since you are all parents as well. And then when we do get the results, we will publish those as well, so that everybody can kind of see. We haven't done from what I understand, I don't think we've done a district-wide calendar survey in many years. And I don't think we've done one particularly around the question around balanced calendar since Ridge's inception before it started. So I think it's really timely to get broader feedback and really see where community interest lies around creating our calendar.
And it will be in Spanish, Polish, English?
Surveys, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm disappointed this didn't happen last year before the calendar vote, but I am very pleased that it's happening now. And I think that it's going to give us a fuller picture and a more well-informed picture that we can use moving forward. So thank you. I appreciate it. One thing I would like also for the board to consider, and I'm not in control of you guys, so you can obviously do whatever you want, but one thing that I would request that you do, we all visited Brentwood before we made this very important decision regarding Brentwood. If you have not visited Ridge, I would really encourage you to do so before the vote that's going to affect hundreds of families at Ridge. I think it's a fair request, and again, I think it's going to give you a more well-informed picture.
Okay.
Love it if it could be a vote of 7 as well.
Okay, so thank you. That's all you have. Okay. Is that all we had on discussion items?
That's it.
Yeah, so I don't think we got is everyone okay that we bring back survey results and a potential draft calendar January 9th? It is literally the Tuesday, not Monday, the Tuesday after winter break, because we have Institute Day that Monday. So Tuesday's our first official day back with students. We have our board meeting that night, and then we have committee of the whole January 22nd. So we wouldn't have the next opportunity until the February, which we're totally good with. Again, I know I'd rather do it right and not rush it. So I just want to make sure the board feels comfortable with that timeline.
I just want the survey results before we vote.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what we want to keep it open as long as possible, but we're probably going to keep it open till about January 1st. That way, when we're back in the office on January 2nd, we can start to digest the results. And then obviously we still get DEA input as per the contract, and then start to draft what potentially those calendars would look like.
And just to clarify, we would be getting the survey before it goes out, right? I mean, just the questions and how it's going to look like.
Yes. So I will ask, since we're just open in this discussion, and one of the things that I'm thinking about and trying to be very transparent is that a district-wide shift to a very different calendar would require some time, energy. So if we're talking about approval in February, the way we worded the question, and I want to make sure the board's good with this, and we're putting this very transparently out there, was to ask families if they would be interested in a balanced calendar. This is non-Ridge families. If they'd be interested in a balanced calendar for the 25-26 school year, not beginning with the 24-25 school year. We just didn't see that like major shift as super feasible, knowing that the vote would be January, February. Okay with the way that that question is phrased.
My recommendation would be that we describe what a balanced calendar is. like as very simple terms as far as a balanced calendar is X.
Yes. So we did both of those things, looked up, got some standard definition. Balanced, which is not year long. It's really taking the same number of days, stretching it out longer period of time over a year with more frequent breaks in between. I do want to say, for the sake of the conversation, and one of the things that has been that is impacted by the calendar is the idea of intersession. Just because we have a balanced calendar doesn't guarantee that we can provide a teacher-led intersession, and that would require more planning and negotiations with DEA and or just structure and conversation. I don't want to conflate those two things because it's additional resources. It has not been a discussion by the board.
So even though intercession is a portion of this whole kind of system, it would require us to go a step further and then kind of discuss that as a group.
It's spent extra resources.
Right. So all I'm asking is in terms of like a step by step. So let's say the board decides, yes, we would like to allow there to be a bit, let's just say at Ridge. We would allow there to be a balanced calendar at Ridge. Then we would have to have basically a separate discussion regarding intercession.
Yeah, and I think just the openness and transparency about how do we actually staff it, because I think that's been just a point of contention since I started here, and post-COVID of who's willing to, we can't force anyone to, we've tried different options. I think just some open conversation. What does that, what would be our expectations? How would we staff it? What are those what is the cost? Who is it? Who is eligible? Where are those intercession classes capped at? There's a lot of background, even that, I haven't had the opportunity to explore myself.
Okay, so I know this is maybe a pie in the sky idea, but we are not limited by the number of days that we have school, right? For the entire district. Is there a legal limitation for we have to have 179 attendance days?
The students is,
176.
the minimum is 176 for
Minimum.
students.
But
There's not a ceiling.
There is the option to come up with creative ways to expand days for the entire district. But obviously that comes
much
with
more
expensive.
Impacting
it comes with
staffing.
additional
Impacting staffing, yes.
Yes.
But
Those days are just so you know, the staff, certified staff, and ESPs, that is their number of days is negotiated.
Right.
So if you want District 59 staff to be there for those additional student attendance days, that would have to be negotiated. Which again is just something that I want to be really out in the open. All the factors. It's not automatic. So lots of things to consider and navigate with any of those changes.
Yeah, I think though, Dr. Sager, it's a very good question and one that we should pursue.
All right.
I'm
Appreciate
curious.
the difference between school calendar requirements and then summer or intercession programming and how the purpose of those, if intercession or summer break is designed to allow people to step away but then how do we provide extra opportunities for our students? It's good that we now know what those different categories are.
So curious, you mentioned that the question for community in general asked about going to the balanced calendars for 25, 26. What about the same question when it's related to the survey going to the rich community?
They'll be asked for returning to the balanced calendar for next year.
For next year, not 25, 26, 24, 25.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. Yes.
All right, that
Thank
moves
you,
us.
sir.
Yep, thank you, Ross. So that moves us on to.
I can't.
I'm.
Yeah, we could
You-
talk
you-
outside,
you can
please.
Just ask.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on, 9.0 reports of the Board of Education. So anybody want to go ahead?
Sure, I can start. I don't know if I remember everything, but was it a week ago or so? We had a wonderful concert from our elementary and our sixth graders, fifth and sixth graders, held at Grove. If anybody was there, I loved it, even though it's still kids learning, so it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely enjoyable. I mean, it was great to see how new programs and expanded programs were coming into life and giving the opportunity for kids to learn something completely different that, potentially blows their mind, positively speaking, if it goes to building the neurons and helping them grow as human beings. Um, Other than that, we had the facilities meeting last week. Most of it we discussed today. I think some of the items for the board. We're talking about the potential improvements in our technology, right? The switches to better ISP, right? Did I remember correctly? And feel free to correct me if I missed my notes. We were touching back on the tax levy, which was discussed. We're touching back on the no fees, no new fees for the families. We were talking about the preschool as well. One thing that I don't think we discussed here yet was the great news. We are paying a lot more for the transportation, and it is a great news because we're getting a better coverage. So I think last year we were about 1 million plus. Now we're at about 2 million plus, so like almost 2x. But it comes with the benefit of higher coverage, which that's where the money should be going.
Awesome. And then from the communication committee, did you guys all receive your newsletter? It's in the mail. I got mine this weekend in the mailbox. Yep. Yeah. In your actual mail. So we have our fall District 59 newsletters out. So every house in the district, not just parents and not just families of our district, are receiving a copy. So keep an eye out for that. Great job, Ben and team, on putting all that together. So that's out in should be in your inboxes this coming weeks.
Robert, since you mentioned the communication, I'll add a little snippet to my report. I asked Joe to forward an article about communications that I gained attending one of the sessions at the conference, which I think was very interesting and might also be helpful for any improving our communications overall.
Sure. Yep. I'll check it out.
Mine's not really a report, but I just wanted to say if there are any district parents still listening, if you can't tell by my attire, I do love the holidays. If you are looking for somewhere to still give for the holidays, a lot of our neighborhood schools are doing toy drives. We have community kind of coalitions who are doing toy drives. I know Jay has a drive right now for unwrapped toys and unwrap new toys, and I think Bird is still doing Adopt a Penguin, just to name a couple off the top of my head. So if you're still looking for a place to give this holiday season, there are lots of opportunities that'll directly benefit our students so that all of our kids can have a present under the tree.
Yep.
Okay, and then briefly, since the last meeting, I visited Claremont and Ridge, and I want to thank both schools for hosting me. I love getting into the classroom and meeting with the students. That was really good. We also had our Triple I conference for school board members, which we had wonderful attendance this time around. For people out in the audience who are possibly listening, it's professional development for school board members, where we get a chance to learn about best practices and interact with school board members from around the state and really get a sense of what it means and what we should be looking for. I will say the best thing I got out of it was I realized I joined the school board sort of after COVID lockdowns, and so I don't know what's normal for a school board. And so having a chance to interact with other board presidents and say, wait, you do that, you do that, and seeing what normal should look like and what we're going to get back to eventually, right? And things we can add as a group together as we work forward. That's all I had. Anybody else? No? All right. So that leaves us to informational items. I don't see anything listed. We don't have anything today, which means, Mr. Mancia, you can take out the adjournment motion.
I have a small request.
Yeah, go ahead.
would it be possible for the board to receive an update on where we at with the officers, the hiring, and maybe first impressions?
For
Like
the SRO programs,
SROs,
right?
yes.
Yeah, I get an update.
Yeah.
The SRO
Sorry.
program.
Sorry.
Was there something in the most recent weekly or no?
Not in the most recent.
About our safety and security.
Oh, that was. I'm sorry. I'm actually thinking of the newsletter I read that had that update on it. But yeah, send out an update on where things stand and sort of how things are going. Yes.
Thank you.
Very, very useful. Thank you. Okay, so that be it resolved. I'm going to make the motion to adjourn. Be it resolved on the 11th day of December 2023, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education meeting is adjourned, and the time is 8:36.
All right.
Second.
Lucas seconds that.
All right, let's get a roll call. Lucas.
All right. Zach.
Lucas.
Aye.
Spino absent. Johnson.
Aye.
Metzia, aye. Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher absent. Chesney.
Aye.
There we go.
And the motion passes.
All right. Thank you, everybody.